7 different people having the same dream from 4 different continents. And that wasn't their only connection. I'm Kenda, and the story I'm about to tell you today made me question everything I thought I knew about sleep. 7 different people having the same dream from 4 different continents. And that wasn't their only connection. It all started 3 months ago on an ordinary Tuesday morning. I was sipping my coffee in my office when the phone rang. The caller was Sarah Chen, a software developer from Singapore. Her voice was shaky, almost a whisper. "Thank you for listening to me," she said. "This is going to sound really strange, but I keep having the same dream. Every night for the past 2 months. And in this dream, it feels like other people are there too." The dream Sarah described was this: long, white corridors, the walls shiny like ceramic, a red door at the end of the corridor. As she approached the door, she could hear other footsteps. Other people were walking in the same corridor, but they couldn't see each other. When they reached the door, everyone woke up at the same time. "So when did you first have this dream?" I asked. "The night of January 15th. I remember it clearly because the next day was my father's birthday." I took notes. That night, I had no idea that in the coming weeks, I would hear that same date 6 more times. The second call came from Norway. Eric Anderson, a doctor living in Bergen. Same dream, same starting date. Corridors, red door, other footsteps. "As a doctor, I can tell you," said Eric, "this isn't normal. Dreams don't stay this detailed and consistent. It's like we're actually going to a real place." By the time the third call came, I no longer thought it could be a coincidence. Maria Santos from Brazil. Same dream, same date. But Maria's account had a different detail. "While walking in the corridor, I see numbers on the walls, like room numbers, 247, 248, 249, and the red door at the end of the corridor also has a number, 273. When I asked Eric and Sarah about this detail, they confirmed they saw the same numbers too. The fourth person was James Mitchell, a retired teacher from Australia. The fifth was Yuki Tanaka, an art student from Tokyo. The sixth was David Cohen, a chef from New York. The seventh was Fatima Al-Zahra, an architect from Dubai. They were all having the same dream. It had all started on the night of January 15th, and they all remembered the same details. But what was really interesting was something else. When I spoke with each of them in depth, I discovered that something strange had happened to all of them a few days before January 15th. Sarah had bought an antique book on January 12th. The title of this book, which appeared to be from the 1920s, was Notes on the Collective Unconscious. Eric had found notes written by a doctor named Dr. Wilhelm Steinberg on January 13th while going through old files at the hospital. The notes were about sleep research and shared dream experiences from the 1920s. Maria had noticed something interesting in an old photograph she bought at an antique shop in Sao Paulo on January 11th. The photo from the 1920s had Dr. Steinberg's laboratory written on the back. The others had similar experiences. They had all encountered something from the 1920s connected to Dr. Wilhelm Steinberg a few days before January 15th. At this point, I decided to give direction to my research. I began investigating Dr. Wilhelm Steinberg. Steinberg, who lived in Vienna in the 1920s, was a pioneer in sleep and dream research. He particularly worked on collective dream experiences. According to his theory, human consciousness could access a shared dream space under certain conditions. However, in 1923, a mysterious event occurred in Steinberg's laboratory. Steinberg and 7 volunteer subjects all disappeared on the same night. No trace was ever found. In their final experiments before the disappearance, Steinberg had placed 7 people in a special dream room. This room was at the end of white corridors with a red door. As I understood it, the 7 people having the same dream today were somehow continuing the experiment from which Steinberg had disappeared a century ago. But how could this be possible? When I researched deeper, I found the names of the 7 people who had disappeared in the 1920s. The book Sarah Chen had bought belonged to Heinrich Müller. The notes Eric had found were written by Dr. Anna Richter. Maria's photograph came from Franz Weber's laboratory. Each modern dreamer had a mysterious connection to the missing people from a century ago. The most surprising discovery was this. In Steinberg's personal notes, I learned that the purpose of the experiment was to create a consciousness field independent of time. According to his theory, there was no concept of time in this field, and people from different periods could experience the same dream. Apparently, Steinberg had succeeded. However, the cost of this success was that he and his 7 volunteers had become trapped in this dream space. The 7 people having the same dream today were following the consciousness traces of those who had disappeared a century ago. The 7 people having the same dream today were following the consciousness traces of those who had disappeared a century ago. Every night they walked the same corridors, headed toward the same red door, but they couldn't open the door, because the key to opening the door was to find those 7 missing people and rescue them from the dream space. In my last conversation, I asked Sarah, "How does this dream make you feel?" Like the people who stayed there are waiting for us. They want us to open the door and rescue them. And here's the most striking conclusion of this story. Last week, the 7 people decided to sleep at the same time on the same night in a coordinated manner, all with the same intention, to open the door and rescue those missing people. The next morning, they all told the same story. They had opened the door. 7 people were waiting behind it, old, exhausted, but alive. They had reached out their hands to them, and none of them ever had the same dream again after that night. This story taught me this. Some secrets transcend the concept of time. Some connections wait for a century. And sometimes the dreams of 7 strangers can be the key to rescuing the lost souls of the past. This was the story of the same dream that I, Miss Kenda, told you. Do you think this was just a coincidence? Or was there really a consciousness field independent of time? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments.